Hey everybody, before we get started real quick, some of you have been wondering where I have been, and as you can see on the screen, this is where I've been. After that before that last video actually, it started beginning of September. They started giving me strikes on September 2nd, then 7 days later on September 9th, and then on September 17th. So I was locked out of my account. And actually, at the upload of this video, I'm still locked out of my account. This is going up on Bitchute and Patreon and Rumble and the other platforms and stuff. I'll live stream it later tonight as well. But then when they lift my ban here in, I think it's like 5 days or whatever, I will at least post a short video linking to this video over on Bitchute and the other videos that were removed. So it's been a roller coaster. Here's the 60-second rundown. So I had uploaded that video, psychosis, parosmia, paralysis, and paradigm shifts, and then they hit me with a strike for it, for community guidelines violation. But as always, I'm a fighter. I always appeal all of these. And it was 1,000 wonders. I posted on Twitter, I'm like, it's a miracle. I can't believe it. Not only did they reinstate my channel and put the video back up and remove the strike, but they did it like within 24 hours. Usually, if you appeal, they'll leave it, whatever they do with it, file it in the nowhere zone for sometimes months. But yeah, within 24 hours, they reinstated my channel, took the strike away, and put the video back up. Now, this will be the last video you probably see on my channel because the next one they took down immediately as well. But in the meantime, in between those two strikes, this is especially interesting. They went back years and years and years ago and gave me a strike on September 9th for this video, breaking first 11 count indictment finally in Clinton uranium-1 trafficking. And this was just a quick video about the news release when they indicted Mark Lambert. So it was no big deal. I was like, what's the big deal about that? And why now? It's been up for so many years. That is what's so interesting about this strike. There seemed to be some AI confusion because that old video used the words Clinton and indictment, that they had obviously already turned loose the algorithms to whitewash the internet of this breaking news that was coming out the following week. So you see what I'm saying here? This was on the 9th, a full week before the Durham investigation indictment of Clinton's campaign attorney. So they knew a full week before it was breaking news. They already had the cleanup guys on it, the cover-up guys on it, sweeping the internet for any conversations about it. And my old video, because it said Clinton, indictment, and Russian as keywords, because it was about the uranium-1 scandal, it got caught up in that dragnet. But I don't think they were after that video. I think they were after this story to control the narrative on this story. So clearly the insiders at big tech, within the machine, they knew about the indictment that was coming. But again, miracle of all miracles. I appealed it, and here we go. After taking another look, we can confirm that your content does not violate our community guidelines. They reinstated my channel. They took the strike away. They're like, oops, we were talking about the current indictments. But anyway, as you guys know, my channel was also carrying an old strike that fell off on September 15th. So I was free to post. I couldn't believe it. So I jumped right on September 17th. I posted this video somewhere between step 7 and step 8. And of course, within 2 hours, they gave me a strike for it and took it down, which is my bad because I got a little cocky after the 1,000 Wonders experience. I've had a lot of those. The devil's, as he has been you guys, too. I mean, he has been attacking me on a daily basis. Seriously, sheriff knocked on my door, served me with court papers to revive a case from the 1990s. I'm not even joking. So I filed pro se and contacted the judge and sent a letter to the judge and to the attorneys and handled it myself. And I got a letter from them saying they dismissed the case against me. So I'm like, thank you, another victory. But anyway, because of all this, the devil keeps coming at me, trying to tell me, that he's going to take me down, and God keeps stepping in and being like, no, you're not. So I got a little cocky and I put this one up, and I should have known it's about genocide and you know, the V and all of that stuff. So I should have known not to do it. But you know, I was feeling pretty high on life, and I did it anyway. As you can see here, they say they reviewed it and they confirm it does violate their medical misinformation policy. So yeah, that one's still down, but it is still over at Bitchute, Patreon. It's on my Twitter feed, stuff like that. So that's that. That's where I have been, and I can't post here on YouTube. I'm still locked out of my channel for another, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. But I'm going to go ahead and make this video and post it on the other platforms. And like I said, I'll at least do a partial edited version or something for YouTube here in a couple days. I'll upload it when I can upload again. All right, all that being said, let's jump into it. I want to talk about Elon Musk. I'm sure several of you watched the press conference, and most of you have at least read the articles and seen the clips and stuff. Elon Musk unveils his humanoid robot called the Tesla bot that uses his vehicle AI. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to show you several clips. This is some fascinating stuff. But first, I want to talk about the big joke, right? The big joke that everybody talked about in the articles. Oh, it's so funny what he revealed at the end of the presentation. After the whole presentation saying that they were going to unveil the prototype and all of that, the punchline is this, that it's actually just a human wearing a suit, and they play this. And immediately when I saw that, boom, I got the punchline, and what the esoteric punchline, that they were laughing their butts off. Yeah, the coming prototype that they're going to unveil next year, it's not a robot in the sense of these dancing robots. The humanoid robot they are talking about is exactly what they showed us as the prototype. That's the punchline. It's a human. The transhuman. The transhumanist dream or nightmare that we are all a part of with this graphene oxide nanotechnology neural lace.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries, because that provides...
Imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries.
Funny, huh? Almost as funny as the little comedy skit at the 2019 Golden Globes before anyone had ever heard of COVID-19. But their little esoteric humor, they were yucking it up, right? Everybody gets a flu shot. And this year, 2019 Golden Globes, instead of everybody getting pizza, we're giving out free flu shots to everybody. And don't any of you xenophobes dare point out that this big injection joke was presented to us by two individuals, one who claims to be of Jewish descent and the other Chinese. And I remember at the time we discussed it a little bit, but the sort of theme, because COVID-19 hadn't hit yet, you know, was like, why is this so funny? Why is that so funny? Like, comedy is really hurting these days. They're like, instead of pizza, everybody gets a flu shot. You know, what were your writers thinking? Why is that so funny? I mean, you know, in hindsight, yeah, they were laughing their butts off amongst themselves. The elites were. Just like I'm sure they all were when Elon Musk marched out a human. The punchline is, it's just a human, his prototype for the new humanoid robot. Again, on one level, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's funny, a guy danced around in a costume, you know, but on their level, on the esoteric level, They have a sick sense of humor. And they're laughing at us. They're mocking us right to our faces. It's like Boris Johnson.
Values of freedom and democracy. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Boris. And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
They think it's hilarious. They think we're retarded. And it's all coming out in the open now. They're like flat out, straight out. You guys are second-class citizens. You know, you don't get to take part in society. If you don't take this injection and meld with the machine of our brave new world order, then you don't get to work in our corporations. You don't get to fly on our airplanes. You don't get to eat in our restaurants. You don't get to watch movies in our movie theaters. You don't get to go to school in our universities. All of that's actually a really good thing. But, you know, it's hard coming out of Babylon. But the point is, they're out in the open about it now, that their brave new world order is a two-tiered system. These shows like the Golden Globes and Elon Musk's little presentation, or like the new World Trade Center, the New World Order Trade Center, I should say, you know, they're just yucking it up. These are all monuments to their accomplishments, to their, you know, one world government. You know, that's what demons do. Anybody who's ever had, you know, like I said, I had the out-of-body experience where I saw hell. Side note, that happened to me when I was 17 years old, and it is posted on my channel still. You can see it right here in the middle. I posted it back in 2015. And lots of people have had these to hell and back experiences and to heaven and back experiences, despite the mainstream success that they have had to make us self-censor for fear of ridicule and rejection and, you know, to be told we're crazy and all of that. These encounters, eyewitnesses to the other dimensions, multiple other dimensions, people are eyewitnesses to it all of the time. There are millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of them available for you to read in books, to watch interviews online. I mean, these are eyewitness testimony of people who have witnessed other dimensions. Even though the mainstream tries to convince everyone to become an atheist and be in denial of the heaven and hellish dimensions, it really is a very common, it's not rare. It's not rare at all. Ask 10 people around you that you know, and if they trust you enough, a couple of them will share their human experience with you, that they have seen these other dimensions or experienced them in one way or another. And one of the common things that people report is how demons mock. They love to mock. They're like, ha ha, you believed us. You know, you're so stupid. You're the worst person. You know, they love to mock. So these are all monuments, and they're award ceremonies, you know, where they give awards to each other for being rich and, you know, ruling class. It's just, I mean, it's hidden in plain sight. It's hidden right in front of our faces. That these are, like this monument, you know, this was the Patriot Act. This was what started this whole thing. That we're a police state now. We have the TSA. And there, you know, you don't need a search warrant. You don't got to go before a judge and get probable cause. You know, you don't got to do anything. It's just innocent people. We're in a police state. This is how it goes. So, you know, we started that slippery slope at this point. And now we are at this point in the total control. So that's what I want to talk about here. How do these injections, how does that giant syringe and these, you know, Golden Globes, everybody's getting a shot starting in 2019 and all of that, how does that transhumanist movement with the injections tie into Elon Musk's neural lace? Everybody knows that Elon Musk has been developing the Neuralink brain implant over the last decade. The last 5 years, especially, he's been, you know, doing all sorts of presentations. Like here's the one where he showed the brain implant working in a pig, and you can go and watch all the videos. I'm not going to put all those clips in here. Here's the crux of it right here. Neuralink's technology to build a digital link between brains and computers. So this isn't anything to do with conspiracy theory. This is what they're doing openly. But the distraction, you know, the magic trick, the illusion, look over here, don't look over here, is that they do keep acting like we're in Stone Age times and they're not using nanotechnology. They're going to actually put like a computer chip in the brain, and the neural lace, it's going to be laced into the neurological system through some type of micro thin wire. But I just played the clips for you of the less popular clips that don't make it into these big main articles that show what he's really talking about is that no, he says, no, you don't have to have a surgical implant. We can do it through your veins and arteries.
And it's there's not I don't know of a company that's working on it seriously. Is a neural lace, your limbic system, your cortex, and then a digital layer, sort of a third layer above the cortex. Fundamental limitation is input-output. So we already have, we're already a cyborg. We're already a cyborg. Faced directly with your cortical neurons, particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries, because that provides...
Implies surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries.
And in just a minute, I will show you some actual microscope footage of this technology self-assembling under the microscope. It is self-assembling exactly how we had warned. And then there's other footage like this on the screen where doctors are finding the crystals that are already pre-assembled and again, even growing while they watch them. But first I want to play this quick, like 2-minute clip from Dr. Pierre Gilbert all the way back in 1995. So over 25 years ago, Dr. Gilbert was talking about this science long before Elon Musk and was warning that this is the way they were going to insert the graphene nanotubules through self-replicating, self-assembling liquid crystals into the circuits of our body, our neurological circuits, the circuits of our brain.
In an old video from 1995, a theology professor named Pierre Gilbert warned of mandatory vaccines that would turn recipients into zombies. He speaks in French, so I will translate. In the biological destruction, there are the organized tempests on the magnetic fields. What will follow is the contamination of the bloodstreams of mankind, creating intentional infections. This will be enforced via laws that will make vaccination mandatory. And these vaccines will make possible to control people. The vaccines will have liquid crystals that will become hosted in the brain cells, which will become micro receivers of electromagnetic fields, where waves of very low frequencies will be sent. And through these low frequency waves, people will be unable to think. You'll be turned into a zombie. Don't think of this as a hypothesis. This has been done. Think of Rwanda. But what he said 26 years ago certainly rings true today. In 2016, The Guardian published genetically engineered magnetoprotein remotely controls brain and behavior. Here we can see zebrafish larvae that have been injected with magneto being manipulated with magnetic fields. In March of 2020, Defense One published an article on how hydrogel biosensors are ready to be injected into people's bodies, funded by DARPA and Bill Gates. If you search magnetic nanoparticles, you will find several articles and videos explaining the so-called benefits of this invasive technology that can control parts of the human body via external frequencies. Livestock needs to be branded and tracked. And sadly, there seems to be millions of people eagerly lining up to be state property.
So he tossed out a handful of articles and PubMed.gov documents and studies. This isn't a biowarfare that is just about genocide or culling, although those are layers of what is happening. This is the pinnacle of mind control, not just subliminal messages and propaganda and very superficial mind control. This is literally hacking the human brain. Like we talked about in the Titan Point series, it's the culmination of all of these beta tests they did to create a Manchurian candidate. And they get that term Manchurian candidate, from this region, which is right here with Russia and China. It's Russia and China. This thing came out of China. Granted, the current regime that has overthrown our nation and is ruling over us now is complicit in all of this. This is the continuation of the work on the Manchurian candidate for total mind control. But if you are interested in this topic, or you just need to see more evidence to take this seriously as it needs to be taken, this is a life or death situation. This is an eternal life or death situation as well. So if you need more evidence or you're interested, please go over to my website. And we have been putting this puzzle together for years and years and years, long before COVID-19, with all of this nanotechnology and what's going on. So please just go, almost every single video relates to it in some way. They seem like all unrelated topics, but they're all puzzle pieces to the bigger picture. So it's hard for me to say which ones, but of course, you know, the Magnet Gate one here, this is full of doctors, scientists, the inventor of the mRNA vaccine technology. This one, COVID virus and computer virus, are the same thing. This one has several videos, actual footage of the clinical trials of the gene therapy inserts into the brains of mice, and it shows when they are zapped with the electromagnetic pulse how it changes their behavior, and lots of documents in there as well. This one, Vaccine One, the First Wave, this has a ton of information. If you go down to all of the transhumanist stuff here, Human 2.0, Immortality or Extinction, all of this about artificial intelligence, simulation theory. We're actually going to talk quite a bit more about this golems and avatars idea later on in a segment in this very video right here, because this all relates back to what the ancient Egyptians called transmigration. It's a step beyond reincarnation. They said that these gods could move between people, like at will, like what the New Agers would call walk-ins. Because it's not just about using this technology to create a hive mind, which the AI does, you know, have this concept of singularity, its own sort of mimic of God. But it's not just about the hive mind, it's about individual minds, that this AI can jump from host to host to it's an army of avatars, and they can be used individually or as a group. And again, we've seen the beta tests on that as well. These reports constantly of people just getting in their car and driving until they run out of gas, and then walking into the woods, taking their clothes off, sitting on a rock, you know, that they are people in these national forests with the missing 411, and they will get some sort of telepathic, you know, command. They literally takes them over, and they go into a trance-like state, and they will take their clothes off and fold them up in a nice, neat stack. And there are several people who come out of that trance-like state, and they report that they were like in a different reality, that their perception shifted, and they were still in the woods, but they were in a different reality. There was one case like where a guy, he went into a dreamlike state, that the virtual reality that played out in his mind is that he drove his sister home, that they had come out of the woods, but they never did. That was his virtual reality that was going on in his mind. He was so confused. And then when they found her later, she explains the same exact type of experience, that she went into a virtual reality, and there were these shadow beings, you know, following her and looking out from behind the trees, and that, you know, she had lived this whole virtual reality experience in the woods. And so when they found her and she explained what had happened, that she was in literally a different world for a little bit, that she had shifted perception. This is what we're talking about, going between virtual reality and reality with this linked in changing of our brain waves. that, she told them exactly what had happened and what she experienced, but they just, they don't understand. They just write it off. They're like, she must have eaten some poison berries and she's just having hallucinations. But then her brother had the same exact, he also went into a virtual reality, and they were each being controlled in completely different ways. So they are able to target individuals as well. We know there's an entire movement of targeted individuals trying to get the word out that they have been, against their will, enrolled in these beta tests. And they report gang stalking, which is the group, the hive mind, when they use a group instead of just an individual. And people will be walking down a sidewalk, and just random people, as if they come under the control of a demonic force, it jumps like that movie Fallen, I've used as an example before. It jumps from person to person, and it taunts them and follows them.
So Hobbsy, tell me something. So I'm curious, where'd you go?
Why you asking?
Come here. Come on, come here. Time is on my side. Yes, it is. Time is on my side. Yes, it is.
Lou.
What?
You always saying that you wanna be free, but I'm running back. Mike. Mike! Why were you singing that song?
Song?
The song. Why were you singing that song?
I was singing
They
something?
put you up to this? Why were you singing that song?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Syrian Aramaic. How clever.
Jesus.
Well, some things, pal, you shouldn't know.
Like what? Like what?
And if you know, you should never ever tell.
Beware my wrath.
But we'll go more into that later on when we do this section about surrogates. Remember that Bruce Willis movie, Surrogates, where everybody wore these avatars that they had created, these fake humans. They didn't actually leave their house. It's too dangerous out there, right? And we all know when you go all the way out to the fringe of this truth movement that it's hard to digest some of this stuff, but there are people who have substantial evidence that many of these people in the celebrity class are surrogates, that they are already avatars, and that they have already been in this program. And the people being worshipped who put on the avatar, put on the human robot of these celebrities and wear it out on stage to be worshipped, by these crowds who raise their arms to them in their concerts and literally give them worship, that the celebrities that we see on the stage are just these avatars that we're talking about right now, that the AI wants all of us to become in one way or another. And we'll dive a little deeper into this avenue of thought after I lay a bit of foundation here. And all of these earlier videos that I'm mentioning, they have done the same. They have laid the foundation for what we're talking about right now. Now the Bible says that we build precept upon precept. This is how God, unveils the mysteries. This is how he unveils the truth. This is how the Holy Spirit teaches us. You can't go to a kindergarten class and give them a calculus test. First, they need to learn the building blocks, the ABCs. you know, and then they can make words, and then they can make sentences. First, they need to learn their numbers 1 through 10. Then they can learn to add numbers. Then they can learn, you know, and it's precept upon precept. So all of these, even though these are older videos, you know, if you are interested in this topic and you need more evidence, I encourage you to go back and revisit the earlier foundations that we have laid. All of that has tons and tons of documents, patents, evidence, proof. Same here with the biggest secret, the sun simulator, lights in the sky, 5G, Wi-Fi to Li-Fi, and the AI smart cities. This all links into really like the resurrection of their sun god. How Elon Musk is clearly putting what they call constellations, new artificial fake star constellations, satellites above us that will be beaming these frequencies over us. The very same guy who is talking about putting the neural lace in our brains is also putting up the infrastructure above us then to beam frequencies into our brains. Nice. This Rh negative blood type 1, you wouldn't think that relates, but this is what we're talking about in the blood. If you watch this, you'll see that we break it down from a different perspective, that what we have been calling blood types all of these years are nothing more than different nanoparticles locked into the receptors on our blood cells. They just tell us, oh, it's just blood type. Humans have different blood types, and completely overlooking the big picture that just like GMO crops, how it goes into the seed line, the germ line gene editing, the CRISPR-Cas9 technology, edits at the germ line, at the seed line, so that every generation after that carries that trait. That's why we pass on these nanotechnologies in our blood. We pass them on to our descendants, and they have our, quote, blood type. But yeah, that's interesting. That's something that the entrenched scientific community just, all they do is read the scientific stuff given to them, and they regurgitate it and build on it. And they never step back and go, oh, wait a second. So all of this, trust the science. You don't believe in science. No, we believe in science. What we don't believe in is just regurgitating something that like some guy from the Bronx says. You know, no offense, but I don't know him. I've looked over his lifetime of work, and it's horrendous. He's a terrible scientist. And in the HIV trials, 100% of his patients died. Magic Johnson slipped out because he started getting sick, and he discontinued the AZT chemical treatments that Fauci was giving everybody. And he's alive today, 40 years later? You know, the AIDS, like the COVID, the AIDS was created by the treatment. People died because of the treatment. Fauci is like Mengele. This is not a joke. Anyway, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the page, then definitely this is next level stuff. You might want to watch some of the ones toward the top of the website and work your way into this. But these down here talk in depth. This video right here is like 5 hours. This one's 4, with tons of documents and patents and information. This artificial dimensions, machine elves and ghosts, black goo, chemtrails, black-eyed kids, Dr. Carla Turner's presentation on artificial reincarnation and virtual reality, artificial dimensions, and then all of this, the Titan Point series. This one, part 2, talks about what Dr. Roger Lear was removing from people, called, alien implants, all the way back then. And they had these strange properties. They disassembled, reassembled. They would move in places in the body when you would try to reach them and take them out, like they were sentient. This is, now we know. Now we know this is this self-assembling nanotechnology, and he was removing these implants all the way back then. So there's a ton of footage and the actual surgeries and stuff in that one. And then Titan Point 1 talks about where they house these quantum computers, the brain, right? The brain of Skynet. This is it. Okay, let's get back on track about these injections and the graphene oxide and the liquid crystals in the bloodstream and all of that. What the doctors, the clips that I was showing earlier, were talking about all those years ago, back in the 1990s, and what we are actually seeing now in the blood of those who took the injection. In fact, before we go to the blood samples, let's go directly to the injection itself. This is footage of the Pfizer BioNTech. They actually call it Bio and Tech, and people still won't get it. They still won't believe it. Anyway, this is footage from overseas of samples directly from the vials of the what they are calling vaccines. I'm just going to play a couple of clips and I'll put this link down below in the description box. This is 11 minutes unedited. I will speed it up really fast so you can see it assembling, and I will just put a couple clips in. You can go and watch the whole thing. But anyway, what this shows under the microscope is exactly what the doctor was talking about, these self-assembling liquid crystals. Okay, now let's look at this same thing, these crystals assembling in the blood of the people who took the injection. This is beginning to show up all over the world in these clinics, people who got vaxxed and are having all of these neurological issues. They're going to doctors for help because the mainstream will not help them. And the big pharma companies, they even have the legislation in place that you can't sue them. It doesn't matter if they do human experiments on you and kill you, you don't have any recourse. They're completely immune. Pardon the pun. So people are looking for help, and they've been going to these clinics and having their blood work done, and this is what they're finding.
So yeah, this is a dark field microscope, so we can actually do live blood analysis with this microscope, and we can take the blood and look right away under the microscope, and you can still see these things are still alive. They're all microorganisms, they're moving around, so this is all healthy microbes. They're very important to have them in the blood. These are our red blood cells, and we're aiming here that they're really round and separated, so one by one. These are the white blood cells, the leukocyte, and you can actually also see there is movement in the cell, which is really important that they're active. Yeah, so this is important to see.
What we're going to do today is we're going to see, normal blood compared to vaccinated blood. Very simple. We're going to compare both bloods and see normal blood versus vaccinated blood, unvaxxed versus vaxxed.
What is also important actually that the serum space is clean like here, so there shouldn't be any things what you will see soon on the vaccinated people. So we found very strange stuff in his blood, which I haven't seen in 30 years during microscopy. So it's.
So when did your patient come in? This client, when did he come in, and when did you test his blood, and what vaccine did he get?
Yeah, so meanwhile I have seen a lot of different patients, some of them right on the same day even, some patients after a week or two, or months later also. So, but the effect is always the same. The coagulation is a big problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And how many patients have come in that were vaccinated where you've tested their blood?
At least 60, 70.
60 to 70 patients. And one of the common things that you've seen is corrupted blood.
Electronic microscope.
Electronic microscope, which allows him to test the actual substance more so, to see what it is, what it's made out of. So he doesn't only have micrographs, but he can actually test what this is. Again, this is unknown. Dr. Peggy doesn't know what that is because she only has this at this point, right? You only have that. All right, so here we're seeing an aggregate of the blood cells of the vaxxed person aggregating together, getting sticky, and that's not good. Okay, what are we looking at here? This is very bizarre.
That's
right?
very bizarre.
Very,
I have
bizarre.
no answer. I sent this photo actually to friends, doctor friends, and asked if they see similar things, and they say yes. And I really don't know what this is. And what's really bizarre is these like kind of tentacles, or what is it? What comes out there? So I can just repeat. I really don't know what it is. But I guess this are structures like graphene oxide or something. Yeah.
This is like a crystallized, unknown structure that looks like it has life on its own, that's growing, a network. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
it looks like a crystallized graphene structure that is growing a network. And what you can see are these Morgellon type of strings sticking out of it. This is very, very bizarre, and Dr. Peggy has never, ever seen anything like this. 30 years of practicing. That's again. Okay, what are we looking at?
Yes, you see a similar thing. You see this thing with these, again, growing things out of it. So
growing?
Yeah, because these things, they were growing. They were. I mean, if you wait another couple hours, there would be maybe, I don't know how they were definitely growing.
Growing.
Yeah.
So they're alive. It's sort of got a life on its own.
Definitely was something alive.
Was it moving live?
This thing here wasn't moving, but these things.
So that here, right? This here, this crystallized structure here.
They're not that they were moving like this, but they were kind of growing,
sticking out, right?
Yeah.
Wow. This is insane, guys. Structure was interacting, was growing, was sort of like a network. So let's look at the next one and try to get through this. What are we looking at here?
Here again, the blood cells are coagulated, and also again there is something in the blood. Yeah, has again these things here on the side. So very similar. I just can think that must be graphene oxide.
Must be graphene.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Young has unequivocally proved that it was graphene. It is graphene in the blood.
Yeah.
But we've only got microscopy to work with right now.
Okay, so that's the infrastructure going up, or intrastructure. As the Bible says, the abomination of desolation in the temple. As Jesus tried to teach us again and again and again, all throughout the Holy Scriptures, he says, like right here in 1 Corinthians 6:19, do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? So you are the temple. And again, we've done video after video after video laying out all of the scriptural basis for this. John 2:21, when they were getting ready to crucify Jesus's body, and he said, you can tear down this temple, but I'll raise it up in 3 days. And all the religious people standing around were like, What? This temple took 46 years to build, the Jews replied, and you're going to raise it up in 3 days? But Jesus was speaking about the temple of his body. So he was talking about being resurrected in 3 days. So again and again and again, it is clear that the temple of God is our body. So when we see these end time prophecies saying, so when you see the abomination of desolation in the holy temple, you know it's time. This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come. So I know there are all of these Bible prophecy teachers who have taught over the generations, those who came before us, that we're waiting on this third temple, like the religious people just said to Jesus in the last verse I read. They're like, no, we're talking about a temple made out of stone and blocks, and they're talking about a building, but we are the temple of God. So I'm sorry that they have misunderstood that, and I don't begrudge them for that. We're all learning as we go. This is an unfolding mystery, but you do have to humble yourself to move forward with the Holy Spirit. You can't be so proud as to not receive correction. And that abomination of desolation, that antichrist mimic, that impersonator that wants to sit on the throne of your heart, that AI that wants to literally take the place of the Holy Spirit in the body, wants to take control of you so that you will be part of the beast's body instead of part of the body of Christ. That abomination of desolation is this. It is exactly this.
Elon Musk unveils TeslaBot, a humanoid robot that uses vehicle AI. Humanoid robot called the TeslaBot that runs on the same AI used by Tesla's fleet of autonomous vehicles. A functioning version of the robot didn't make an appearance during Musk's reveal, though a slightly bizarre dance by a performer dressed like a Tesla bot did. The unexpected reveal came at the end of Tesla's AI Day presentation, with Musk providing few details about the slightly creepy, Slenderman-like robot beyond a few PowerPoint slides, used by Tesla's vehicles to sense the environment and will contain a screen to display information. Internally, it will be operating via Tesla's full self-driving computer. It's intended to be friendly, Musk joked, and navigate through a world built for humans. The robot's appearance came after a 90-minute presentation detailing some of the artificial intelligence upgrades driving Tesla's electric vehicles, including the Dojo supercomputer, which helps train cars to navigate city streets without human assistance. It makes sense to put that onto humanoid form, Musk said.
It makes sense to put that onto humanoid form, Musk said.
And that's another one of their diabolically grotesque jokes. It's not a coincidence that they are calling this thing the Delta variant. The Delta variant. Just like Delta brainwaves. The Delta brainwave state, which is associated with deep sleep and disassociation from bodily awareness, losing touch with reality, literally losing touch with the real world. It's not a cliche. Why won't they wake up, right? Why won't they wake up to what's going on? It's not a cliche. They're really asleep. This is a form of mind control. What we talked about, the Manchurian candidates, they are perceiving reality through a lens that is programmed into them, literally programmed into them. Anyway, it's not a coincidence. It's the Delta variant and the Delta brainwaves. And it was also a Delta T antenna that was used in the Montauk Project, based off of ancient technologies from the mystery schools and the quote-unquote alien races, the demonic races, literally telling people how to lower their frequency so that they can live in the underworld, so they can live in hell in an artificial dimension. And last but not least, the D wave, the delta wave quantum computer, D wave. And they say it's quantum, right? They're reaching into other dimensions. They admit it. This is what the Neuralink links into. It can't link into the slow internet type thing we have. You have to have a processing speed that is just unbelievable, a technology that we have not been told about. But it's over us. They put literal constellations, like the stars. They put a fake layer of constellations above us. The Starlink is in constellations. The D-Wave is the quantum computer. The neural link is being put in us, and the nanotechnology is the liquid crystals. Self-replicating nanotechnology that we've been told are viruses, which never have been anything natural. That's all a lie. It's always been nanotechnology. They've always been molecular nano machines. So it's not just coming through the injections, it's coming through these things that they have been calling viruses, the Delta variant. It's coming straight down in computer code through the frequencies, just like we talked about in the Russian experiments. Those Russian frequency experiments where they stacked the two petri dishes that were completely sealed, and they just used a frequency, a laser, to shine through them, and the infection in the top petri dish was carried on that frequency, the code for it, into the second sealed petri dish and infected it with frequency alone. I mean, in fact, we've addressed this before when we followed the line of this code that we used, that all of these pharmaceutical companies used, that it wasn't part of a virus. It wasn't anything physical. It was literally a computer code that the WHO from China uploaded to the database for all of the, health organizations of all the nations. It was just a code. So it's not too far-fetched when we see outbreaks in resistance states that haven't bowed their knee to the federal mandates, like say Texas or Florida, those who are going against the grain, and then they get these massive outbreaks. And I don't have any citations for this one. Time will tell, I guarantee it, because I sincerely believe that what they are experiencing is frequency. Their states are being sprayed or they are being beamed over, which we know happens. This is war. They are at war. They are punishing those areas. That's a weapon of warfare. The communists can not only launch an attack on their enemies within the United States, those who won't bow the knee, but they can also use it to control the narrative, right? Oh, look, it's those people who didn't obey the federal mandates. That's why they're getting hit so hard with this. And I disagree, but that's just my personal opinion. And I'm entitled to have opinions. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what I believe presently. And I have addressed lots of times all of the evidence and documentation about these frequency attacks on America, which I consider beta tests, on the American embassy in Moscow. Remember back in the 1970s, we've gone over that several times. Then we have Havana syndrome, which was when they attacked the American embassy in Cuba, and people got all of these same type of symptoms. In fact, that's how they even knew anything was going on back in the 70s, was that everybody was getting sick. And they didn't have any idea that there was someone in a building across the block beaming frequencies at them. And now, it's much more high tech than that. Like Elon Musk's Starlink project that's set to go live next month, October of 2021. And if you trace the AI and see what it is actually interested in, what they are censoring, I think that's evidence in itself. Just like I talked about in the very beginning of this video, that I got caught in the dragnet of them trying to erase information about the current Clinton campaign attorney indictment. They began scrubbing the internet using those particular keywords a full week before the indictment even happened. So, and we saw the same thing with 5G. Remember, as soon as COVID broke out, they deleted and terminated all the channels. They removed all the videos, everything about 5G. And again, when we get to the end of this video about the dead internet theory, this will make a lot more sense. The magnitude of this systemic program, it's literally a program that is used to constantly manipulate humanity. Hopefully I can convey some of the magnitude of that. It's so much bigger than them just censoring stories to control a narrative. There's even more than one narrative. It's like they have 100 million simultaneous realities going on that they try to trap people in rooms. And we talked about the back rooms and the hell experiences of virtual reality chambers and different stuff before. But this dead internet theory is a good complement to all of that information. And they have admitted that hundreds of people in Washington were affected with this Havana, so what they're calling the Havana syndrome now. Recently, we just had those politicians over in India that got hit. So I think to say that it absolutely could not happen in Texas or Florida, or no one would ever weaponize anything to do anybody any harm, I think that's naive. I think it's a very real possibility. We're at war. We have been engaged in a spiritual war since the fall, since the Luciferian mutiny. And these people, these entities, they don't just trade in commodities. They trade in the souls of men. The demons, the fallen, are trying to capture our souls. Revelation 18:13, and it talks about their trade in cinnamon and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and flour and yada yada, and cattle and sheep and horses and slaves and souls of men. As we grow up, we can now understand these things that they've told us were fairy tales, but now as God raises his children, literally raises us, we can understand scientifically stuff that sounded like a fairy tale before. The story of Adam and Eve. And there is nothing in the Bible about an apple in the Adam and Eve story. I know, like every painting, everything we've been shown all of our lives shows Adam and Eve with an apple. It doesn't say anything about an apple anywhere in that text. The only apple I can find that seems to fit into that story is this, the forbidden fruit apple. And that's why, like we talked about the demons mocking earlier in this. The elitists, the ruling class, especially the avatars for the AI who have brought this infrastructure forward and trapped us all in it, they're yucking it up. They use the bite out of the apple, the forbidden fruit, as their logo. I'm not making that up. I'm not jumping to conclusions. They used it in their advertisements. Bite into an apple. That was their little motto, and they priced it at $666. I mean, you really, you can't see what spirit inspired these people, where they got their marching orders from, their great ideas, their inspirations. So yeah, now humanity's running around with this logo on all their iPads, all their phones, their laptops. Oh, it's so cool, standing in line out in front of the Apple store, right, for the next product. They're just laughing at us. That forbidden fruit, like we've talked about before, the knowledge of good and evil, when Satan says, well, don't you want the knowledge of good and evil? Then you can be with us like the gods, we already had the knowledge of good. We already had utopia, heaven. Like we already had that reality, that lens. God protected us from hell. That was what was quarantined. Hell was quarantined. Nobody had to lock their doors. No little kids were getting raped. Like we had heaven. We had utopia. So it's not the knowledge of good and evil in that sense. It's the knowledge of good and now evil. They introduced the forbidden fruit. They said, but we can link you in to our world's evil. Now you'll know both worlds. It talks about Eden, earth, and God saying, everything that God created, all of nature is for them. But this thing is also, this tree, this family tree is also in this world. Do not touch it. Don't touch it and don't consume of it. And now, here we know, I'll play you the clip right here of the clinical studies with the mice We know graphene is a contact poison. All of this, conspiracy theory stuff they want you not to believe about shedding. And I know shedding's a misnomer, that this is transmission. It's a different kind of transmission. It's the transmission of nanobots.
If it were really airborne, if this were really what we think of in our biology understanding as an airborne deadly virus, it should have ripped through Paris. It should have ripped through Omaha, Nebraska. It should have ripped through Boston. It shouldn't have stopped at 3 cities. We now know you don't need the whole virus to cause COVID. You don't even need the whole spike protein. All you need is a very short genetic sequence called the S1 subunit. It hooks into the ACE2 pathway. What do we call a virus? It's a genetic material wrapped in a lipoprotein coat that is technically dead, that floats around, and when it gets into your mucous membranes or somehow into you, it can damage the host. What would we call a genetic poison? A small bit of genetic material wrapped in a synthetic lipoprotein coat of our making that when it gets into you, damages you. That sounds very similar to me. And I could make another one. I could say, what would we call an immunogenic contraceptive? A small amount of genetic material wrapped in a synthetic protein coat that I designed. When it gets into you, it goes to your ovaries and sterilizes you. Our worldview that there are viruses, and these viruses are just acts of nature that come out and infect us and do all this damage, could be completely wrong. What we're dealing with may never have been natural. This idea of these emerging infectious diseases and all these things could have all been lab made. In medicine, we try and figure out one diagnosis that explains them all. The thing that explains everything that's happened here is not a virus, but a contact genetic poison that is spread around 3 cities. You get it on you, and it gets into you. It causes some people to die. It causes some people to get very sick. And you then can pass it through a couple more passes to other people. Let's say that's just like the vaccine that they devised to sterilize mice in Australia, where it passes through 2 passes. I get the poison on me, I pass it to another group of mice or another group of humans, and then they pass it to another group of humans, and then it kind of dies out. That could have happened, and then that makes the scary part of the curve. And then what did they do? They instituted fake tests that caused everything that was a viral illness, every other illness of the season became COVID because of these fake tests to drive the narrative. But you're not seeing the same kind of death and destruction you saw at first. So it's a different issue. Now we're just dealing with a viral curve, and that caused this whole thing. And for what purpose? To drive people to get a vaccine, which is the same contact poison. That would explain everything.
They actually come through our pores, through our sweat, the oils in our skins. It's a contact poison, and it can be spread. Nanobots. I mean, we all know that our food supply is largely GMO already, and so they've already genetically modified most of the plant kingdom. And we've done reports on the past on what they've done in the third world with contraceptive corn and just all of this stuff. Bill Gates is releasing mosquitoes, genetically modified mosquitoes, to sterilize the population of mosquitoes. And the mechanism by which it works is the ones that are modified and released, they just carry the infection and transmit it to other healthy mosquitoes that were not genetically modified or anything. So yeah, when they come in contact and mate with the healthy mosquitoes, then they transmit it. So you can't say these people don't think along the lines of loosing a crowd of genetically modified organisms, even if it's people, into a population with the very purpose of transmitting something to those that they couldn't get their hands on. They not only think that way, they've done it. But it's also a fact, besides just regular GMO crops, now right here, we just had the government grant for $500,000 for scientists to study getting the mRNA vaccine into our food, that they wanted to genetically modify, do more GMO crops, that this way, because the way the technology is now, it has to be kept at very cold temperatures and injected right away. But if they can get it naturally into the plants, then we can consume it, and it will have a long shelf life. Again, this harkens back to the story like we talked about with Adam and Eve. Again, that God said, don't eat of this tree, like this one. Don't, all of nature that I created is for you. It's all for you, but don't eat of this tree or touch it. Well, this is why. But when people talk about this openly, then they are mocked and ridiculed, like General Flynn, right? That's all the rage today, all day on all the sites. General Flynn thinks they're putting COVID vaccine in our salad dressing. They're so stupid, you know? But they're so blatant with these articles that, at least Snopes and them, they say, they do bring up the fact that, yeah, the government just granted money for scientists to study ways to get it into the food supply. They do at least mention that, but, still, he's a crazy person and we're all crazy people and, all of this. But keep all of these articles in mind when we get to the close of this video and I talk about the dead internet theory. Please remember this article, all of these articles, and try to look at them again in the context of what we'll be talking about then.
Not even backed up by the scientific papers. The scientific papers say that graphene oxide causes shedding. In other words, all of the vaccines we've discovered, all of them have graphene oxide in them. All of these places here where they're claiming variants, yeah, are places where they injected people initially on trials with graphene oxide. Graphene oxide causes plasma membrane shedding, and the spike protein alone causes the illness. That's why I say that. I'm not saying there's no illness. I'm not saying people aren't getting ill. I'm not saying people can't catch something. What I'm saying is the whole viral package bullshit is bullshit. It's proteins and poisons. Proteins and poisons cause all the symptoms associated with with COVID-19 or flu or whatever. It's all about the proteins. And there was a bioweapons attack in 5G areas. We had a massive connection. It's not coincidence. It's not coincidence. They sprayed graphene oxide, probably sprayed graphene oxide, but it was also in the flu vaccines. I had a leak for you, remember, that it was in the Chinese flu vaccines, and also there were major messages coming out of Italy early on that everyone who was dying had the flu vaccine, the graphene oxide vaccine, in 5G areas.
As always, I will put the links down below to, that was from Pirate Pete's channel over on Bitchute. And if you want to go over to his channel and watch the whistleblower and the documents that he had presented on that they had actually been doing beta tests in regular injections, regular flu shots, and that they did not have the success that they needed until this newest iteration, which is not a vaccine at all, it's gene therapy, because they were looking for a permanent solution. But anyway, also in my videos, you guys remember, we've already discussed that, yes, leading up to this, all of these people being killed, all of these whistleblowers being killed. We had the missing CDC employee, Timothy Cunningham, how he had come out, he worked in Atlanta with vaccine, vaccinating for free the underserved minority communities. And he discovered that these injections were making people deadly sick. And he began looking into it. And he took it to the lab and he went to his supervisors, and the next thing you know, he comes up missing. First, he calls his mom, he calls his neighbors and friends, says, remove me from your contact list. Like he's in some sort of trouble. And tells his parents that he's in trouble. But of course, the CDC, his supervisors at the CDC, when he went missing, they're like, well, he was having some sort of paranoid psychotic break or something, so we hope he's okay. Yeah, right. Well, they found him in the river 2 months later. So right there, to me, that's one of the supporting pieces of evidence that we presented in the past, that yes, these people were not having psychotic breaks. They were doing what they thought was right, going to their supervisors at the CDC and telling them what they had found. And of course, the higher ups in these agencies, they know what the plan is. So instead of saving these minority communities that were being experimented on, no, Timothy Cunningham was knocked off. In the same video that we talked about Timothy at the CDC, we also talked about tech CEO Aaron Valenti and other tech CEOs that around the same time also ended up mysteriously dead. If you remember the Aaron Valenti case, she went to Silicon Valley with all of these other CEOs of these tech companies for these conferences and discussing the new interfaces and the new AI and all of the stuff that she worked with. Well, she comes out of those meetings and she calls her parents, she calls her husband, she says, "We are living in the matrix." And she is trying to dump all of this information on them like we're doing right now. And of course, they're like, she was having a psychotic break. She called us up saying we're living in the matrix and all these people of Silicon Valley are doing this and the technology, you know. Well, she understood because AI and that type of stuff was all her specialty. And she was trying to tell her family, but of course she never made it to her flight and she was found dead in her rental car and they couldn't determine a cause of death. So again, that's like the Breitbart heart attack. You know how it goes. These shadow rulers, they really do see themselves as the ancient gods. Like we talked about earlier with the ancient Egyptian concept of transmigration and the New Age concept of walk-ins, that they can use these technologies, these interfaces, to use humans as avatars. So they can literally put on one of these, stars. We call them stars even, just exactly like the ancient texts called them stars. They can put on one of these stars and just go up on these stages, these arenas, and just have these humans worship them. I mean, look, they put their arms up, they worship them. If they want worship, they just put on one of these avatars, and it goes both ways. These pop singers, these celebrities that have sold their souls, they admit it. What is it? Sasha Fierce, Beyonce says, "Oh, when I go on stage, the first time it happened to me, it entered me and took over my body, and I'm like a different person. I'm very sexual. I'm very, all of this." And she calls it her alter ego. So they talk about it openly. We've done lots. I put the actual clips and interviews of them explaining it in their own words in all these other video presentations. But yeah, it's the people behind them, that thing she felt enter her and took control of her. That's what we're talking about. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and rulers and powers in other dimensions. That is what the Bible says. They use technology for weather modification, weather manipulation. They weaponize the weather. So when we hear those ancient stories of, oh, don't anger the gods, or you won't get any rain and your crops will die, or, Zeus is going to throw a lightning bolt at you and Breitbart's going to have a heart attack. These technologies are real. And this shadow government, this ruling class, they really see themselves that way. They really believe they are the gods over us. And now we've got these new shows where they show us outright avatars, that they are performing as avatars. Behind the scenes, they're all rigged up into this, mind meld thing where it's them doing the performing, but their avatar is on stage. And they call the show alter ego, just like Beyonce was talking about. So this is a primitive version, but they're showing us right to our faces what's going on.
Alter Ego is the world's first avatar singing competition show. It features aspiring singers performing as their dream avatars.
Alter Ego is a competition show featuring 20 contestants singing for a powerhouse panel of judges. The twist, those contestants are actually performing backstage in motion capture suits, and the judges are seeing their over-the-top avatars.
Jokingly says he wishes he could have had a third term with a stand-in during an interview with Stephen Colbert. Take a listen.
If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
But even then, even when they are using their avatars to lead people, and I mean lead people, look at the quote followers of these people, tens of millions each. But anyway, when they're in their worship services and all of the humans are worshiping these people, these avatars, these entities want to make themselves known. I mean, look at this. Does it get any more obvious if you have eyes to see? They're like, an avatar is one thing, but I want you to see me and worship me. And people do anyway. So it doesn't matter what kind of grotesque demon is behind the avatars. Even when they show themselves, the people think, oh, it's so cool, and they continue to follow. So this is a free will choice. It's just like the avatars from ancient times, the Nephilim hybrid avatars, the rulers and pharaohs and all of them. Like take the pharaohs, for example. They were marked on their forehead. They actually wore on their headdresses who they were an avatar for, which spirit. And so they all wore the serpent on their forehead, or multiple entities, depending on which gods / fallen angels / demons they served. But it was open in their records and in their religions that they said these are avatars, that this is your ruler, your pharaoh, but he is a genetic hybrid, a quote, descendant of the gods. That's why he rules over you. He serves us. He is our ambassador, if you will, our avatar to you. But these are the serpent god. That's the one whom you are actually answering to. And we see similar things today in their worship services, which they call concerts or whatever. But when they get together to be worshiped, they make it known all the time. And people point it out all the time. They have been for years, but most of the trending stuff are in these small videos, like 8-minute videos. Nobody will click on something if it's not 8 minutes. And that's, like I always say, that's why I make my videos so long. Some people don't like it, but you have to put some of this stuff in context so that it makes more sense to people, so that they can really see this really is a satanic ritual at the music awards show. That sounds crazy conspiracy theory to a lot of people, but yes, these are worship ceremonies that people are taking part in. Whether it's the giant serpent comes out on stage to be worshipped, or they actually perform this satanic ritual with the audience, or whether it's Madonna's Super Bowl halftime show that does the same thing, or whether the avatar is this Lady Gaga that'll get up there and roll around in blood and drink blood out of a heart, and all the things that we saw in the pagan demon worship. It's still going on. And because they've chosen the beautiful people, the bold and beautiful, right, to be their avatars, tens of millions of people are following them and emulating them and literally worshiping them in enormous worship services. Hey, you guys, sorry about my voice. I know I'm a little nasally and stuff today. I took some medicine. I had the COVID. I almost died from the COVID. Oh, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Like dry drowning. So praise God for Stella Emanuel, my doctor, and she got me the hydroxychloroquine, the ivermectin, the steroids, the Z-Pak, the treatment, and within 2 hours of the first treatment, I was able to draw a breath. And by the next morning, I was like 80%. It's unbelievable. Unbelievably successful treatment. But yeah, don't let anybody kid you that whatever's going on. We're not saying it's what they say is going on, but don't let anybody kid you that nothing is going on. The Bible is clear that the devil's going to loose in this world the best he's got, as we approach the pinnacle, the crescendo of this thing. And, that includes cataclysms, natural disasters, plagues, famine, all sorts of things are coming. These things are wicked and they will kill people. You're going to need a savior. You are going to need divine guidance to walk you through this if you hope to survive, bodily and spiritually. And thank you for everyone for all of your prayers, even though you don't know always what I'm battling behind the scenes back here. Your prayers are the spiritual warfare that gets me through. And I thank you for that, because I'm like a freaking spiritual warfare ninja fighting off attacks day after day after day. Hey, they also took down my backup channel here on YouTube, the Supernatural God Is Not Dead channel. They terminated it. It's gone. I can't get it back. But that's fine. My backup channels now are on the alternative platforms, Bitchute, Rumble, Patreon, Odyssey. All those links are always at my website. Please, for backup, if I disappear off here, if you care where I go, you can find me over on those other platforms now. There are no more backup channels here on YouTube. And the frontline doctors, no matter how hard they've tried to censor them and take down their websites and everything, they now have a network of doctors and pharmacists and everything in all 50 states. So I will put a link down below in the description box. I obviously won't be able to do that if you're watching this video on YouTube, if I even decide to put it up on YouTube. But on the alternative platforms, I can put those links below. So if you're watching this on BitChute or Rumble or somewhere, then you can go below and the link will be under Dr. Stella Emanuel, and you can go on there and you'll have access to the same life-saving treatment that I have access to. But if you or any of your loved ones do end up in the hospital for this, please, if you remember only one thing that I say today, don't let them give you the remdesivir. The remdesivir, they say it's an antiviral, it's part of the protocol, it's killing people. Almost everyone who goes in the hospital, they don't know. A lot of people have never heard of it.
I'm going to go through a lot of information. How many of you know who I am or have seen me in the media? Anybody? I have to give a great big thank you to Dr. Rainier Fulmick out of Germany. Did y'all see that interview? The German Corona Committee Foundation reached out to me and asked me to provide all of the documentation to them who are suing the World Health Organization with 1,000 doctors. $10,000 MDs, and they reached out to me privately to give them a 1.5-hour documentation of Anthony Fauci's knowledge of how he was going to kill people before the pandemic started, how he's still doing it right now while you're seated here, and I'm going to give you some of that information here, and I want to put up a slide. I just have to thank Dr. Rainier Fulmick. Also, just real quickly, I got to get this out of the way. If any of you have loved ones who are being treated in ICUs for any of the variants of COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2, you have to write this down, convey it to your loved ones, myfreedoctor.com. It is proven these doctors will help you get early treatment for COVID-19, get you the prescriptions that you need for free. Go there. Early treatment is the proven option, and these doctors are there standing for you. They will write you free prescriptions, telemedicine, offer them donations, do it. They will save your life. If you can see the screen, there's a QR code there. This has if you scan this QR code, put in your email the documents I provided to Dr. Rainier Fulmick, my disease prevention cocktail to protect all of your loved ones from those who are jabbed and those who are not jabbed, but exposed to those who have the shots. Those documents will be sent to you automatically through that code.
Hey, let me break in just for a second in the middle of this clip. I wanted to point out, you notice he said to protect people who have been exposed to the jabbed, because it is so important to know this is not a joke. This is not a conspiracy theory. I believe 100% that I was infected from my fully vaccinated ex-husband through these visitation exchanges with my son. My son got it. He lost his sense of taste, but he had no other symptoms. And then directly after, I got it. I've also had these same symptoms that people have talked about. And I'm sorry, I know this is too much information and people don't want to know about my menstrual cycle, but I have already gone through menopause years ago. And yet every time I come in contact with him at a visitation, I start bleeding. I start spotting. So what these people are reporting from this contact poison, like Dr. Lee Merritt, the clips that we put in earlier from Dr. Lee Merritt, I don't know if I mentioned her name, that's her name, Dr. Lee Merritt, about graphene being a contact poison and being able to transmit these nanobots and that this, quote, shedding, even though it's a misnomer, it's just a different form of transmission, is occurring. It is occurring, you guys, and I believe that 100% that is how I got infected. And I also wanted to point out that the links that he is talking about and the doctors and the free telehealth visits that he'll be mentioning in this seminar, they are not redundant to what I was talking about just a minute ago with Dr. Stella Emanuel and those links. So the links that I said I'll have below in the description box are different even. So you have multiple options. Please, I encourage you, write it all down, get it into the hands of your loved ones.
All right, so what did Anthony Fauci know? All right, let's throw up the first slide. Next slide, please. February 2020, China was seeking a patent on remdesivir from Gilead Sciences, who manufactures remdesivir, the drug. This is in February 2020. I want you to go to the next slide. This is just the article. Look here. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine last week reported a coronavirus patient in the United States. How many? A coronavirus patient in the United States was found to show an improvement after taking remdesivir, which is also used to treat infectious diseases such as Ebola. This is February 2020. This is the lie. All right, next one. Let's look at the Ebola study. This is what I did in May 2020. I've been in the media ever since to educate you guys the current genocidal attempt and murderous attempts of Anthony Fauci, the NIH, the FDA, the CDC are all using remdesivir. This is how they're doing it and perpetuating those deaths, using a drug in hospitals. This is the actual Ebola study that Anthony Fauci quoted in May 2020, proved, he said, we're going to use this non-FDA approved drug. It's been approved since, but it wasn't before the pandemic. We're going to use this non-FDA approved drug called remdesivir because it was shown to be safe and efficacious against the Ebola virus in 2018 and 2019. Has anybody actually looked at this study? Because I clicked the link on NIH.gov's website. All of you should do it. This is the study. Ebola virus inside of Africa. They took 4 regions, gave them all remdesivir and 3 other experimental drugs. Anthony Fauci said it was proven to be safe and effective against the Ebola virus. So now in this novel virus of the coronavirus, we're going to use it there also. We're going to mandate this one drug. You can't use any other ones, like hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, back in May 2020. Go to the next slide, please. So what did the actual study find? They actually found, you can see here, you see mortality up there? Definition inside the study. They found that remdesivir, in 6 months, the safety board pulled remdesivir from the study, a 1-year study, because it killed more people than any of the other 3 drugs, including ZMapp, which was put in by the FDA and the NIH. So 6 months into the study, they pulled remdesivir, they pulled ZMapp, which was supplied by our government to Africa because it killed more people. How many people did it kill? Remdesivir killed 54% of all people in the study that got the drug. Look up here. I'm not lying. This is from the study. Look at the second column from the right, remdesivir. Look below there. 54%. You see that? Mortality rate. All right, next slide, please. He then quoted a second study in May 2020, Anthony Fauci did, that supported the use of remdesivir in the treatment of coronavirus. The Ebola study, by the way, was a lie. No one clicked the link to look at it. I did. This is the other study he mentioned. This was actually done by Gilead Sciences, who makes remdesivir. In early March 2020, they took 53 patients from Japan, Canada, and America who had COVID-19, and they put them on the drug for 10 days. What's the drug? Remdesivir. This is the maker of remdesivir's own trial study. Next slide, please. What did they find? Check this out. 23% in 10 days had serious adverse events. The most common serious adverse events were multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, which is defined as the #1 cause of death in all ICUs, by the way. Second, septic shock, acute kidney failure, and hypotension. Kidney failure and multiple organ failure. 8% had to be taken off by days 5 because they were dying as a result of the poison of remdesivir. That's what they found from this study. As a result of these studies, they decided to actually push this on the masses. All of you, this was going to be the drug choice. Why? Because it would actually make COVID-19 look more deadly than it really was. One other disgusting thing, Anthony Fauci and our federal health agencies bought up all of the reserves and stock of this experimental drug in 2020. We didn't even let another country have it till the end of October 2020. Do you want to know why America had the most deaths during 2020 in this pandemic than any other country? We were the only country treating people with remdesivir, proven to cause acute kidney failure, multiple organ failure, septic shock, and hypotension, all of which are lethal. This was the great setup. So they set this up so that they can murder people, then convince you people were dying of COVID-19. They didn't die of COVID-19. They actually died from remdesivir poisoning, causing acute kidney failure. If you just listen to the media, the New York press conferences of all the doctors when when Corona was going throughout New York early on, they were reporting, we've never seen a virus ever attack the kidneys like this one is. You start treating this virus and it attacks the kidneys and shut it down. These doctors had no idea it was never the virus to begin with. Remdesivir was proven in 30% of all people to cause acute kidney failure. Do you know what happens when you shut down the kidneys in somebody? Your kidneys release water from the body. Guess what happens when you shut them down? Your body retains water. Your abdomen fills with water. Your heart fills with water. Your lungs fill with water. Do you know what they call that? Pulmonary edema. You are drowning these people to death with their own fluids, and they can't breathe. They were calling it secondary pneumonia. You have to listen to me. Still today, they are calling it pneumonia from corona. No, it isn't. They are shutting down everybody's kidneys with remdesivir, causing their lungs to fill with fluid, and they are drowning them to death. Do you want to know why this made me so angry? In May 2020, February 2020, I watched a hospital in Dallas, Texas, kill my father-in-law with the same protocols. They are still doing it today, and I'm telling you right now, anybody who's got a loved one in ICUs, please listen to me. They have set this up where they're going to use remdesivir. 31% of people treated for COVID-19 will have acute kidney failure. Their lungs will fill with fluid.
So anyway, I pray that none of you end up in that situation. But if you do end up in the hospital, remember that one thing. Never, ever let them give you the remdesivir. And again, I will put the links below on all of the other platforms that allow me to, so that you can go to Dr. Stella Emanuel's site. It's very simple. You can even get it prescribed as preventative if you are not sick. This is legal, even though the regime is rounding up all effective treatments so that people can't be saved and will be forced to take these injections. Do not believe them. We do still have access to life-saving treatments. So get them while you can, you guys. Get it while the getting's good. They are not just going after this thing through mandates and stuff. They're taking down the supply chains. So you guys remember that Barry and Honey Sherman, the billionaire couple that were found hung by belts attached to the railing that they said was suicide. Yeah, they got suicided. Well, a lot of people don't know that Barry and Honey Sherman, what they did, they were a pharmaceutical company that produced generic medications. We've covered all this in the past, but this is a good time to mention it again, that they were one of the largest producers of cheap and effective hydroxychloroquine in the world. So yeah, they ended up dead the year before this quote outbreak started. And then after it did, all of the factories worldwide started getting blown up. The hydroxychloroquine factory in Taiwan just mysteriously blew up. Likewise, the chemical plant in Mexico just mysteriously blew up. On the very same day that here in Illinois, they took out our plant in Madison. I used to live in Madison, Illinois. But yeah, so they even went down the supply chain to the raw materials used to produce this. So when I say get it while the getting's good, get it while we can, yeah, you guys, if you have any ability or resources, you need to get it while you can, because things are going to get a lot worse. Because we're at war. Even though the masses are in denial, we are at war now. And pretty soon, it'll even be life-sustaining food. Be wise. Walk circumspectly. Be wise. Know what's going on and prepare as best you can, namely your soul. When the Word of God says that we need a Savior, He's not kidding. You're not going to make this on your own. You're not going to be able to save yourself. You need a Savior. I need a Savior. And thank God we have one. We have one. Christ is going to intervene and He is going to save His people. But it says that the tares will be gathered together in bundles to be burned. So don't be a tare. Please come out of Babylon, get saved, humble yourself, realize that you were lied to and trained to be an atheist. Humble yourself, surrender your life to God. Accept Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, instead of this damn AI. This damned, literal abomination AI. It's not going to save you. The goal is to get that out of your body and get Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, love, into your body. And He will walk you through this fire and you will come out without even the smell of smoke. I know, because I'm in the fire every single day and I get delivered every single day. Sometimes through you guys. By your hand, I get delivered every single day and provided for every single day. So God has a body out there. And thank God for Dr. Stella Emanuel and the frontline doctors right now. They are in the battle of their life too. Many of them are hanging on to their medical licenses by a thread. They're trying to destroy all resistance. So please pray for Stella and the frontline doctors, everybody on the front lines of these battles, all of our ministers and leaders, and for one another, for all of you who are fighting your battles in your everyday lives as well. I love you guys. Okay, let's get back to this thing. Anyway, they did shut down Erin Valenti. Nobody really knows the cause of death. She was found just dead in her rental car after trying to warn people about what she had found out. And we've talked a lot about this, about the microdosing that they do in Silicon Valley. And we've done the LSD experiments, the DMT experiments, all that's in those videos that I pointed you to earlier. The ones down at the bottom, the next level stuff about the virtual reality, that people have been visiting, the singularity that they've been tapping into, the AI, that what already existed, pre-existed, the archons in the ether.
My body again, and I slowly open my eyes, and hyperspace is still overlaid on top of this normal world, and I have the sense that it's always here, but you just can't access it while you're not on DMT. There's an enormous part of reality hidden. This is just a little bit that's hidden. Oh my God!
They've been tapping into it with this LSD and DMT, and they think they're encountering God when they're encountering singularity. They even describe it all as bots. They'll say, oh, we saw these bots building universes while we were there. We saw machine elves that had to come and give us the interface so that we could perceive, what they wanted to show us and all that. And I showed all the deceptive entities that you meet there. It's all a big deception. That's the thing. People talk about the people who in the tech world who want to go into this virtual reality and create avatars for everybody, the sentient world simulation. We've talked about it a lot. That's their idea of immortality. They're going to escape death. They are going to be immortal through this technology. But what they don't understand, some of them do and some of them do not. Apparently, Miss Erin Valenti did understand, and it cost her life when she tried to warn somebody. Some of them may be deceived when they do this. Others, I'm sure, are all in. But the point that we've repeatedly tried to show leading up to where we are now is that it is not, even us in the truth community, we talk so much about the social media censorship and how these giant tech companies are doing this and doing that. It's actually the opposite. They aren't in control. It's not they are sending out the AI. It is actually the AI has sent them out. They aren't creating the algorithms. The algorithms are creating them. These MK Ultra experiments started long before where we're at with these more permanent injections. They started back with the CIA LSD experiments and all of these temporary fixes. There are people who have been linked into this system for a long, long, long time. Like we said, we don't battle against flesh and blood. Yes, it may be their avatars that we see. Oh, Zuckerberg, he looks like that guy off of Star Trek. He's an android, or, Jack in his nose ring. He's such a hipster, whatever. These guys, they're not smart enough to do this. They're not doing this. They're avatars for the AI. They're linked in not just through microdosing, but many of these have been in these MK Ultra programs that have been linked in for a long, long time. We've even reported in the past on the My Labs and the alien abductions and all of that sort of thing, that these MK Ultra programs have been going on a long time. We've tried to explain it a lot in the past, how, like, take Steve Jobs, for example. When he created Apple, he wrote in his book and he talked about in interviews how he would drop LSD, and we went in these videos, we laid it out piece by piece, who the CIA operatives were who brought the LSD experiments to the industrial complex. They literally had people assigned. We named them by name. We went through the, like say Timothy Leary, he was assigned to go to the academics. So he was the one who introduced, like, the writers, the poets, the professors in the universities, introduced them to LSD. Well, there were also others that were sent to, like, say, Hollywood. There were others who were sent to these industries, the technology industries. So anyway, Steve Jobs talks about, he was one of these people, the heads of all these companies, they were taken off to retreats and given, hey, this is going to make you more creative. You got to try this. So anyway, Steve Jobs talks about that he got his, quote, inspiration, a lot of his inspiration while on LSD. And, still to this day, Silicon Valley, it's very common, they microdose. So they were using, before the injections, before the permanent interface that they're setting up now that you can't turn off, they did these temporary ones to flip the switch, or as Timothy Leary said very succinctly, to turn on. They turn these people on. They tune them in to the lower frequencies so that they drop out of this world. So that's what they did. They went about systematically distributing this within all of our, what we would call, leadership class, our professors, the universities, the politicians. It was a very effective patch to get these people to be able to get their marching orders from the ether.
You've done to me. It has a hybrid nervous system. One human cortex, one machine.
Blair, what have they done?
Who built you?
My name is Marcus Wright.
You think you're human?
I am human. I heard your voice on the radio. You're John Connor.
Of course you know me. You were sent here to kill me. Kill the leadership.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then why are you here?
Blair said you could help me find who I'm looking for. Now let me down.
If I let you down, you'll kill everyone in this room. You and me. We've been at war since before either of us even existed. You tried killing my mother, Sarah Connor. You killed my father, Kyle Reese. You will not kill me.
Okay, so all of that being said, this leads us up to the dead internet theory. What is the problem with the being linked into the Internet of Things, right? It's all of us. It's just all of us being able to get together and, have unity. No, it's not. Long ago, this is a trap. This is a trap that has been set for us. And now we're starting to see, people are starting to wake up to it, that this AI has lured us all into its web. We are the prey. They may have infected the leaders first, they may have taken over the ruling class first, but clearly they aren't done until they're controlling every last one of us, and they have wiped out all resistance. And the reason people are waking up now is because they're seeing that humans are slowly being replaced with bots. So they're picking us off one by one now. The AI is doing this. Big tech is not doing this. The AI is deplatforming people, erasing people from their virtual reality, their artificial dimension. And simultaneously, the AI is self-replicating into all of these AI-generated profiles, avatars. You guys know, you can go back and read the articles. We've reported on it all the way along as we've been going along in this thing. These AI generated faces and portraits and Instagram stars and, all of it. So the influencers, right? While the AI algorithms scrub the internet and terminate accounts, delete people, deplatform people. They allow some people to stay, but they will go through all of their posts and delete just the ones, that they need to remove so that they can keep people trapped in relationships with others, which are called rooms. This is the actual way the programs work. I'll show you in just a second, to keep people trapped in the relationships, but you can only say this, to other people and stuff like that. It's very complex, very manipulative, very diabolical. But the point is that slowly they are removing humans. They are removing the sentience from God, that we are not allowed to speak from the Holy Spirit. We can only speak from the AI abomination of desolation. And like I mentioned earlier, we always say, oh, they're controlling the narrative. It's not one narrative. It's hundreds of millions of simultaneous narratives, and many of those oppose each other. But yet it's like what we would distill down into saying controlled opposition and that type of thing. But it's so complex and so multifaceted and diabolical. Well, you know what? I'm just going to get into it. I want to play some clips from this video, The Dead Internet Theory, from the channel All Time, because he articulates it very well. He can say it better than I'm saying it right now. And I'll try to keep it to a minimum because I don't want to mirror his work, but he does articulate it so well that I'm going to use, some big clips. I hope he's okay with that. I do want to send you over to his channel with the link, and you can watch the entire 30-minute presentation if you're interested in this stuff. But here's a pretty good introduction of what I'm trying to say right here.
A disturbing and unsettling yet entirely plausible theory that gives me that awful sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. The kind of feeling you get when you know someone is lying to your face. The kind of feeling you get when you connect two formerly unconnected points in your mind, and their newfound connection gives you chills because you didn't want to believe it, but the truth is too obvious to ignore now. This theory adds a deep-seated gut feeling to what many of you have experienced for years and years, but have been unable to put into words. The feeling that something is deeply wrong online, but you can't put your finger on what or why. Many people seem to have pieces and fragments, but no one seems to have figured everything out. Once I explain all of this, I'm sure a lot of you are going to be feeling these exact thoughts. So I'm sorry if I break any worldviews with this video. It honestly isn't my intention. I, like so many others, just want the truth. So let's get right into the dead internet theory. Most of the internet is fake. This theory is a collection of a lot of ideas from many people, but credit must be given to Illuminati Pirate for bringing together so much of this information into a single thread. I'm going to discuss a lot of what he says, as well as pull a ton of information from a variety of sources and comments from all over the web. The simple explanation for the dead internet theory is that the vast majority of the internet is actually generated by artificial intelligence, in conjunction with paid media influencers in order to manufacture consumers for an increasingly wider range of newly normalized products, as well as to dramatically sway public opinion and control the collective attitude or outlook of people or culture. For all of the younger people out there who didn't experience the internet as it used to be, the internet of today is vastly different. Before the advent of the internet-connected cell phone, or the mass adoption of the home computer, before social media even existed, the internet was a place where people came to express passion, hobbies, feelings, and thoughts. It wasn't filtered, or selectively shown to you based on what an algorithm thinks you want to hear. It also wasn't an echo chamber to reinforce your pre-existing beliefs, whatever they may be. It wasn't created to keep you locked into a website or an app for hours and hours every single day. The internet was a collection of human thought, both right and wrong, and what you found and enjoyed was up to you. It wasn't monetized. The point of it wasn't to get as many clicks as possible or to keep you engaged for as long as possible. It just was. These days, the internet feels so empty and devoid of people. Have you ever noticed that? Truly hear me out here. The internet feels devoid of content. It's safe, sterile, bland. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, see, or read. There are no experiences anymore. It's a collection of 10 or so websites or apps that everyone visits over and over again until they go to sleep, only to do it again the next day. It's a series of empty husks. The internet seems gigantic, but it's more like a hot air balloon, because there's nothing inside. All of your friends enjoying the same funny video as you, the same talking point shared repeatedly over and over online, or how every day something new is trending, so you better jump in and give your take on it. Every day, it's something, so the conversation can never linger too long. There's always the next new or shocking or unusual thing everyone is talking about. Why does everything feel so fake and manufactured? It's always the same thing or a slightly different thing repeated over and over as if it's produced content made to distract and occupy your mind. Don't stop to think, keep engaged, keep scrolling, keep buying, keep wasting your time. Keep pointlessly arguing with bots online made to offend you to spark unending engagement. Do you like superheroes? How about Hollywood drama? New music? The algorithm is here to feed you an endless supply of content based on what it assumes you want. Have any of you noticed how sterile fiction has become? How it caters to the lowest common denominator and follows the same template over and over again? How music is the same bland, seemingly created in a lab song over and over again? There is a reason for all of this. Algorithms and computer programs have been manufacturing content now for at least a decade that we know of. It's the Wizard of Oz mindset. Once you take a step back and the curtain has been pulled and you see it for what it really is, you can't go back to the way you used to think. But let's go deeper into the internet side of things. Let's talk about YouTube. For the younger people watching this, YouTube used to honestly be about expressing yourself. It was random people in front of a camera talking about how they felt or what they've experienced. It was real, it was organic, it wasn't about trends. Nowadays, if you talk about the wrong thing, your video gets demonetized. If you say the wrong thing, your video gets removed. You can speak freely as long as you're okay with being suppressed in the algorithm and no one sees your content. The views, the clicks, the growth on YouTube, it's all nonsense. I did YouTube for 7 years before I got as big as I am today, and it's completely artificial. That's what blew my mind. That was the difference between me not succeeding and succeeding, was realizing that fact. It's all fake. Say the right things and push the right content and you'll succeed. You go with the way the wind is blowing. But if you stand in the face of that wind, you'll be standing there alone with 20 views. And this is not me complaining. These are objective facts. Look at almost any channel you subscribe to and take a look at their views. Individuals are being pushed away in favor of corporate news, corporate music, and another creepy angle regarding YouTube and other forms of media are deepfakes. Not only can computers and AI replicate faces accurately, but now voices as well. The safest thing to assume is that the technology we see in the mainstream today was created 10 to 15 years before we ever saw it. So just imagine what AI can do now, what we won't be able to comprehend for years. It's so creepy to think about. Fake people, fake comments, fake faces, fake articles. It's terrifying. How much of the internet is actually real? People, events, news, so many things could be completely fictional. And I mean, honestly, how would we know?
Not at the moment. Have you decided? I could be way off base. There's a lot of people who do think that this is CGI. I think it looks very peculiar. It just seems strange to me that his hand is occupying the same space as these microphones. It seems like a really bad layering job. Seems like they got a little too fancy with trying to make it look like he's leaning in. So this is actually posted on The Hill's Twitter. The Hill has over 4 million followers. So it begs the question, if this is fake, then wouldn't the media have to be in on this?
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison for your mind.
Buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy.
It's a layering CGI glitch, and this proves that this video, which was seen all over the world, over and over and over again, year after year, is a CGI rendering. Thus, it's not an amateur witness video. It's a fake.
They've not quite got the image fakery element of it right, what will be seen to impact on the side of the tower. And I think that's the reason why anyone who got a reasonably close view on their camera, CNN went round buying the rights to everyone's video cameras.
Here's another interesting thing you yourself can witness. The internet on your smartphone is not the same as the internet on your PC. Try it out for yourself. Go to any popular website with a lot of traffic and spend a few days randomly checking the same thing from your PC and your smartphone. You'll notice from time to time that what you see on one device is completely different from the other. Entire threads can play out differently. Sometimes you'll see different comments, different like to dislike ratios on comments, all kinds of weird anomalies you'd only notice because you're coming at it from two different places. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced the case of trying to find that one comment that you really liked and never being able to find it again. The argument for algorithms is that it helps us find what we want to see and caters to our likes and dislikes. That doesn't sound so bad, right? But I don't buy that for a second. Because for years and years, the argument was that different algorithms for different people don't exist. It isn't real. What are you talking about? Well, years later, with overwhelming evidence to prove that algorithms do exist, now it's widely accepted as a real thing and spun as a positive. But that isn't necessarily true either. The algorithm is there to keep you engaged and hooked on websites and apps for longer, to accurately collect your likes and dislikes, and do whatever it takes to keep your eyes glued to the screen and your wallet spending money. If you linger too long on a certain thread or a video, the algorithm will recommend more like it. If you argue online, the algorithm will find and create more incendiary posts to rile you up and keep you engaged. If you didn't already know it, you are the product being manipulated and used, and AI will do anything to keep you there. What is right? What is wrong? What is allowed? What is not? It's a vicious cycle that weeds out dissent and critique. Nuance isn't allowed. I don't necessarily mean from a political standpoint, although I can't completely disregard this angle. So whether you're right-leaning or left-leaning or something else, suppression is a real thing for all sides. Discussion and understanding aren't good for business. There's a small Overton window of allowed discourse, and if you stray outside of that window, everything is done to squash you or hide you away. Let's talk more about social media. There is a reward and punishment system built in to push things in certain directions. For example, look at Reddit. I have joked for years and years that Reddit is a hive mind. Now that this theory has come along, that joke seems to be a lot less funny and a lot more realistic. Simply based upon a like or dislike ratio, Reddit can push up what it deems correct and push down what it deems incorrect. Then you have bots spamming to derail conversations on subjects they don't want discussed, and dividing and conquering on real issues to break down any progress that could be made. It's a psychological game being played on everyone. You want more upvotes, and to get them, you make sure you say the stuff that's going to get pushed up. Don't rock the boat, follow the trends, say agreeable things, avoid disagreeable things or challenging topics. The obvious point of Reddit having a point-based system is to make the points go up. This system discourages you from saying things that will make your points go down. You only want your points to go up. Do you see the problem? Another social media I'd love to talk about is Twitter. What Twitter does is they place people in rooms, and you don't know what room you're in or how you got there, but you're there. You can't escape from these rooms, or have a way of checking to see which room you're in or who else is in there with you. Upon learning this, you might think that the goal of these rooms is to lock you in with other people similar to you. But in fact, the goal is to generate high-intensity emotional responses, like outrage or humor. Swelling up your emotional state is more likely to get you to stay on these sites for longer, have more interactions, and allow them to collect more data on you to be sold or manipulated. By trapping us in these invisible rooms, You are more likely to see things you disagree with, but only to a certain extent. You will not have to actually face a detailed counterpoint to your argument, only a brief, incomplete summary maximized for high-intensity emotion. You see, the point of Twitter isn't to find common ground, or debate the issues. It's to misinterpret and argue and get mad and waste time and energy while they collect data on you and throw ads in your face. Twitter does this by imposing an overly strict 240-character limit per tweet to make it physically impossible to discuss complex ideas in such a small space, so conversations naturally devolve into insults and shock value. There's a reason the country feels so divided right now, and it's all intentional. Look at Facebook. It's a well of content thrown at you just to rile you up and support your pre-existing beliefs. Are you mad about this? Well, here is more stuff to get mad about. Are you worried about this? Well, here are more things to worry about. Do you love cats or dogs? Aren't they great? Well, this really bad thing happened to one of them. You better stay engaged and keep watching. Your emotions don't matter at all to us. Buy the stuff, argue a bunch, and keep isolating yourself from other humans because it makes you less powerful. So how much of the internet is fake? Studies suggest that less than 60% of web traffic is human. That's right, 60%. According to researchers, some years, a healthy majority of them are mostly bots. For a period of time in 2013, the New York Times reported that half of YouTube traffic was bots masquerading as people, a portion so high that employees feared an inflection point would happen, meaning YouTube systems for detecting fraudulent traffic would begin to regard bot traffic as real and human traffic as fake. They even have a name for this hypothetical event. It's called the inversion. Remember, this was all the way back in 2013, so it's not a stretch in the slightest to assume that the threshold of bot traffic has been met and surpassed, meaning that the internet is, for the most part, filled with non-living voices. It really puts it in perspective how outnumbered we are compared to bots.
They even have a name for this hypothetical event. It's called the inversion.
The inversion, right? We all know about the inversion. Everything is inverted. They call good evil and evil good. They call the corrupt, wicked people who are lying to us and enslaving us, oh, there are social justice warriors, there are saviors. And they call the people resisting the wickedness and the corruption, oh, they're domestic terrorists. Anyone who doesn't believe the regime they're your enemy, right? Everything is inverted. That's the satanic inversion. It's here. It's done. We've preached and we've warned for decades leading up to this, but it has come, the inversion. Isaiah 5:20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who say bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. 2 Timothy 3:1-4. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will become lovers of themselves, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, brutal, not loving good, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. John 3:19, and this is the judgment. The light has come into the world, but people loved the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. And they fear that if they come to the light, their evil will be exposed in broad daylight for all to see. So they hide from the light. 2 Timothy 3:13. While evil people and impostors will go on from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived. 1 Timothy 4:1-2. Now the Holy Spirit expressly says that in the latter times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to these deceitful spirits and the doctrines of these demons, through the insincerity of liars whose conscience have been seared. Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And on that note, I'll leave it here. I'll give you a quick update on what we're doing to overcome evil with good and to overcome this no contact isolation, keeping humans from humans, and to overcome the AI control by bringing the truth into our actual communities, on the streets, in person, not just in the Internet of Things, not just in virtual reality, where we can be controlled so easily. Those of you who have watched my last two videos that they left up, the UFO video and the paradigm shifts video, we talked about our newest project that we're doing with opening the Library of Truth, the Mysteries of the Universe gallery, with the books and the DVDs and the information, DVD distribution of banned podcasts and deplatformed individuals, not just myself, but other voices that have already been silenced. We are building it. We're going this coming week to look at a building. Thank you guys. So many people have stood up with us, and we're going to do this. So many of you have caught the vision and have joined forces with us. I have already bought almost all of the inventory for the store. I will only now have to spend the next probably 30 to 60 days making the copies of the DVDs that we'll be producing here. I showed you the equipment that we had purchased to do that, so we can make multiple copies at a time. So that's what we will be working on strongly, and that will be the finishing up of the inventory portion of it. We are going next week to look at the building. It appears that we are going to get an amazing building with a huge warehouse on the back, like we said, not just to collect the donations like the Salvation Army and Goodwill of furniture and clothing and things that people are going to need as we are forced out of society and out of our jobs because we refuse to take the injections. But also, I'm a former Marine, so the one thing they teach us right off the bat is adapt and overcome. So we have every contingency in place. We understand that as this thing progresses, there is a possibility we will be around long enough to see many of these cataclysms, and that there will be refugees, Christian refugees, leaving areas, leaving the big cities. Several of you who have volunteered to come and take part in this in person and be with us are already living out of your cars and these types of things. So we are planning, know that we are planning with the contingencies for the warehouse. We understand. I know a lot of people are like, there's not time to open a store. It's so much bigger than that. We got this. And many of you have caught the vision. I wanted to thank you for contributing. We are well on the way. I do need at least 1 or 2 volunteers for a project that's not contributing money, but I need help. I can do, like I said, I bought the equipment to mass produce the DVDs of all of the banned and deplatformed stuff that I want to put into the gallery in, the Christian bookstore front portion of this project. That is not going to be like a Christian bookstore I've ever seen anywhere before. But anyway, I know some of you guys, I'm working on my computer here is like over 10 years old, and I just don't have the time to make all of the master copies of these DVDs. What I do have are all of the MP4 files. So I was wondering if there's a couple of you techie people out there that I know this is such a breeze to you. You can just pop it in your computer and it's done. Well, for me, it's not that easy. And it's time consuming. I'm using my computer, my little old computer, for 1,000 other projects at the same time. So just the fact that I can't be tying it up 2 ways at once. So what I need a couple of volunteers for is, if I sent you thumb drives with the MP4 files on them, could you burn me master DVDs out of those files, straight off the files, that will play on regular DVD players, that will play in people's PS3s, will play, not just a computer version that you can pop the disc in and watch it on your computer. I need the MP4 files converted into DVDs that will play on all of the regular machines, region free. But I only need 1 copy of each, the master. If you can get me the master on a disc, I can pop it in the top shelf of my stack and I can transfer it and I can make multiple copies. Then I can just keep the masters. So that's what I'm looking for. Are there a couple of you techie people who have great computers who it would be super easy for you to do that for me? If you are willing to help and you want to help, if you want to help me with that, please drop me an email at XtremeRealityCheck@yahoo.com. My email address is always, it's on the website. It's also down below in the description box. So if I get a ton of people who volunteer, I'll only need a couple to help. And it takes me forever to go through my emails anyway, but I really do need you guys' help on this. So if there are any volunteers who are good at that and want to contribute in that way, I could sure use the help. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys. God bless you and your families.